Hello and welcome to this 101 Sketchnote workshop with me, Hannah Williams from Scribble Inc. My aim is to show you a basic guide to Sketchnotes where every skill level is welcome. Your time is precious, so I'll be keeping this to around 30 minutes to show you a flavour of what's possible. So, let's jump in. My outline for the workshop is simple. We're going to look at what Sketchnotes are with some examples, practical applications of why we use them and their value, how we can create them with a breakdown of planning, structure and elements, and where you'll be using Sketchnotes next. As a side note, each tip I have comes in 5 easy to follow steps. By the end of the workshop, you'll be more confident in creating your own Sketchnotes with my organisational tips and tricks. So some of you may be wondering how I know so much about Sketchnotes. I'm the director of Scribble Inc, a visual communication business that helps people and organisations communicate more effectively and engage teams with strategic illustrations. I have a degree in illustration, which was inspired by my childhood intrigue to draw anything I didn't understand. And I was recently awarded Entrepreneur of the Year for my region here in the UK. So wrap those all together and you get me, a visual communicator with a passion for visualising complex and technical messages. If you're less familiar or new to Sketchnotes, I think it's important to outline what the term Sketchnotes generally covers. At the core, they're notes with added value, often including drawings, icons, arrows, lettering, and frames. In my opinion, they're a way of capturing thinking in a physical way. And the beauty is that they can be used to capture information in a wide range of settings for so many different purposes, whether that may be small notes in your diary at meetings, big drawings in lectures, or quick plans for the week ahead. Let me show you some examples of work I've created recently. Here are 2 examples of some different types of Sketchnotes I've created, both in sketchbooks, but for different purposes. This one on the left is during a focus group discussing a business vision. I was invited to Sketchnotes 7 group workshops so that recurring key points and strong themes could be noticed more quickly and easily in the visual. This one on the left is almost working like a mind map. Each icon, it anchors the main points discussed and important quotes. So here I've used the company colours for branding, and generally I like to stick to a limited palette to make the page easier to read. Usually I'll use black with up to 3 accent colours. On the right here are my own sketch notes from a keynote talk. Here I simply used a black fine liner to keep it simple. Structure-wise in this one, I placed the speaker in the right-hand bottom corner and used borders and arrows to show movement around the page. You can see in both examples that I've used a mixture of drawing and words and not actually written everything down. I've used icons to select important points and annotated just what's necessary. I also don't use a pencil. This isn't to say you can't, but penciling in will slow you down. Commit with that pen first, and with practice, I promise it gets easier. An adaptation and larger version of Sketchnotes are called live scribes or graphic recordings. These are live drawn notes created on a large scale in meetings and events. These are great to graphically represent key points and engage attendees in a unique way. On the left is me scribing an NHS partnership forum for tackling health inequalities for Black, Asian and minority ethnic communities and staff. This was an incredibly important event that I was honoured to scribe. The visual is still used today to help communicate the key points and actions that help facilitate necessary change. On the right is a live scribe from DPD's annual review. Every year they celebrate the achievements of depot managers and overall improvement for the region. In the middle of this scribe, I documented the introduction and then clockwise a summary of each manager. These are still used as screensavers and physical artwork in the office. For both pieces, I created these during full day events, and the visuals were kept as physical pieces and digitized versions so they could be sent out to attendees. In essence, live scribes are just a larger version of Sketchnotes. A progression on from both of these are rich pictures, which are typically digital and created remotely. To create these, I would receive a document or report and help my customer communicate their message through a one-pager visual. This alternative may be something for you to consider practicing. By turning written notes into visual notes after a meeting, you reduce the pressure to draw on the spot, but you're also practicing your technical skills. Rich pictures are really hard-working visuals that can include a lot of information, but in a really engaging way. Here is a rich picture I created for Talkout, a mental health first aid training organisation. These were printed and handed out to participants of their workshop, rather than receiving a boring leaflet once completing their course. My final example of Sketchnotes are more personal versions. These examples of travel journals, but you could apply this idea to plan holidays, organise dinners, or even document your day ahead. Here I use them to remember each day on holiday. Does anyone else get back home after going away and think, which day did we do that on? Or what was that amazing restaurant called? Well, by capturing a moment, you'll bring the memory back to life when you look over these types of notes. Sometimes I'll create these on the go if my sketchbook's small enough, but otherwise I'll spend some time back at the hotel at the end of the day reflecting over the adventures. So here on the left, you can see my notes from travelling from Luton to New York and our first night's dinner there. And I swear this was the best grilled cheese bagel and tomato soup I've ever had. On the right is a page I drew up one evening in San Francisco of Coit's Tower. We'd visited it in the day. And maybe if you've been, you'd remember the incredible fresco paintings that cover the walls on the inside. Without these notes, though, I think I would have forgotten that it took 26 artists to paint this. So how do we actually create sketchnotes? The three basics we need to understand about how we create sketchnotes are listening, synthesizing, and drawing. We listen out for key points or phrases, synthesize them into a visual, and then we draw those selected words and pictures. And it's here we need to remember that it's about ideas, not art. If you can draw, this is a bonus, and it may mean you have some more control over a pen. But for those less confident in their drawing, it means that for now you'll be more focused on your ideas and less precious about the look, which is perfect. Remember, substance is key. And this is where my first piece of advice comes in. Before we get into drawing, we need to consider the structure of our page. So how are you planning to use your page? And what kind of page are you working on? Maybe it's A4 landscape or A3 portrait, maybe it's square, but this all feeds into the plan. We can also ask ourselves a few questions before starting. So number 1, how long is the meeting or event happening for? Number 2, what do we know is planned for the meeting beforehand? So what's it about or its purpose? And number 3, where will you be using the sketchnotes after? So will these be used for you and your learning, or will you be sharing them with a wider team? Take the first question. When we know the meeting will be happening for an hour, say, we can split up our page into time chunks. So 4 chunks of 15 minutes. This gives us a general guideline to stick to and help leave enough space to work with throughout the meeting. On the other side, if we know there's maybe 2 items to be discussed in a meeting, In this case, you have a guideline for 2 sections of your page. Planning and using knowledge beforehand will keep you organised and in control of your page, and it will help you leave enough room for everything. I know this is something a lot of people struggle with, and I think this tip will be really useful. So remember, plan your page as much as you can first and take away some of that stress. So we've covered structure and plan. We can now move on to the elements of a sketch note. This slide shares my 5 must-know elements for your sketch notes, and they're titles, containers, connectors, icons, and people. Let's jump into titles for a bit more information. So titles are the different ways we can draw words. Our title header needs to be bold and legible. Here's some examples of different styles of writing words to make them stand out amongst the other text. And it's always fun to get creative with how you draw letters. On my page, I like to start with the title first, because this reminds us of the purpose of the meeting, and you really don't want it squashed in a corner right at the end. But remember, it doesn't always have to be at the top left or the centre of your page. Sometimes it works really well right in the middle, especially if a mind map approach works for you. Being creative with the placement of your title will impact on the structure of the information, and it's great to practice and play around with how you see it, making it stand out. So the second element are containers. These are boxes and banners and shapes to house information in. Here you can see a few examples. Remember, some will relate to your subject more than others. Perhaps during an idea session, say, that inspires lots of different opinions, speech bubbles and thought bubbles could work best. If you need to jot down an idea or important reminder, pop the information onto a sticky note. In their simplest form, drawing a sticky note is a square with a small dot at the top. The central banner you can see here is a simplified version using 3 colours. Hopefully you can see how the drawing is made up and used to create more elaborate designs on either side. We'll be moving on to drawing shortly, but our third element are connectors, which are the connections between information, often arrows and lines to show movement and relationships. Here are a few examples of arrows. Maybe you want to show something becoming more important or focusing in on an idea. Or we could show a journey and where it will lead us. I really enjoy turning a simple shape into something more personal. Like here, the curved arrow, I've added a start flag and sections. So I'd use this to show a journey or progression, but let me know what you'd use it for. So we've now covered 3 elements: the titles, the containers, and the connectors. Number 4 now is icons. So who believes me if I say any icon and anything can be drawn with just 5 simple shapes? Well, let me show you how we can use a line, square, circle, dot, and triangle to build any icon. It's really important to understand, though, these are less about perfect proportions or complex angles. We're interested in using simple shapes quickly. So this is where we need to have our paper and pen at the ready and join in with me as we walk through drawing a few icons I use every day. So remembering our 5 elements, let's go on in with a clock. Follow along. We're going to start with a circle. And within this circle, draw a slightly smaller one. In the middle of these, we've got a dot. And the only thing to add now are some hands. That is a very basic clock, so I hope you've kept up with that. But maybe if we think, right, let's add some more elements to this. Maybe we want more specific, an alarm clock. Here we go in with 2 lines for the legs. We have a line on either side here. And by joining these lines together, attaching them to the frame, we've got some alarm bells. Coming out from the top, we add our last sections, 2 straight lines, and it's an alarm clock. Now personally, I like to always add a little bit extra, so I pop in some movement lines, and let's show that it's ringing. So I'd use this clock to show timings, urgency, deadlines, and you can add the relevant digits in too to personalise it. So let's say we need to wake up at 6 a.m. It's still kept this really simple, but effective. Next, we've got a bulb. So we're starting again with another circle. So we've got a circle. Underneath here, we have 4 straight lines. There is a very small one at the bottom. Now we've got a rectangle with 2 dots in the middle. And again, let's add some movement lines, because I always think it finishes an icon off. It's a great bulb, it's bright and shiny. And I'd use this for ideas, innovative thoughts, maybe a new plan. I love bulbs. You will normally see a bulb everywhere in my work. And lastly, a mug. So let's go in with a rectangle. Now under this, we're going to draw a slightly smaller one because we're actually going to go for those stackable mugs. Now on the side of this mug, we've got our handle, a really simple handle. And let's go in with those movement lines again, because this is a super hot coffee. Or tea, whatever you want. I use this for connoting a break or maybe a coffee meeting, but personally I like tea, so let's specify this, like one of those pretty mugs that says tea on. So in true art style, here are some I've made earlier. These are icons that I use every day, and I've used different colours to draw the shapes so you can see how each one is made up of those 5 simple shapes. These are really effective icons. We've got an email, a star, and there's 3 different types here. So the 5-point, the asterisk. I'll use all of these depending on what's needed to be said. We've got that sticky note again. So you see we've got this square shape here and a dot. So simple. We've got a mountain. This is one of my favourite icons for trying to show achievements or a journey. And if you've got specific points you need to hit, you can almost add those in alongside. We've got money, a cloud, which is lovely for if you're noting your holiday weather in a journal. We've got a phone and a speech bubble. So like I say, I use these nearly every day, and it speeds up what I'm trying to say. And people still fully understand what's implied. They're also great because you can add a few words or numbers to these generic icons and add even more information quickly. Through practice, you'll naturally form what I call an icon library. These are your simplified, recognised interpretations of things, and they generally make sense to you. But over time, you'll get quicker and more proficient at drawing your icons. My last of the 5 elements are people. So we've worked through titles, containers, connectors, and icons. And using people in Sketchnotes creates a more personable feel and human approach to note-taking. Emotions can often be most memorable, like how we feel about an idea. So remember, adding opinions into your Sketchnotes are just as important as the facts. Follow along with this next tip on how to create quick emotions and simple people. So here we have 3 circles with 2 dots in each. So with a simple up curve on the left, we have a happy friend. This person here in the middle, they're quite indifferent. And over this end is a very unhappy friend. And here we've created really quickly some simple responses that maybe you could use to label ideas or actions, but let's give them some more emotions. This is how I draw people quickly. So let's add a rectangle under each head. I like to change sizes, represent real people. And under each one of these, we can add some very simple legs and feet. Now, sometimes I'll draw them with circular feet if I need to show if their feet are pointing different directions, but generally I will do them like this. And let's use those simple lines again to show their arms sort of saying their emotions even better. So happy friend over here, happy friend's cheering, having a great day. Middle person here is still very unsure about something. They can't make their mind up. And here on the right, well, it's a hands on hips situation. Not good at all. But maybe we can give even more explanation to these emotions by bringing in those icons we've just learned about. So this friend is very unhappy because things are running late. He's behind schedule. So by dropping in that clock, we can show that he was due somewhere at 3 o'clock and he needed to be there at 12:30. Maybe he was joining the Sketchnote workshop. This friend in the middle, well, they're really, really indifferent because they're being rained on. Let's add that cloud in. And the friend on the left here is happy because they've got a new idea. We can use that bulb to really quickly show some added information. As a step further, so we've shown how we can draw really simple people using icons and emotions. I'm going to show you the true importance of eyebrows now. Now, I know they're a big fashion thing at the moment, but for good reason. So remember our happy friend. I'm going to draw him in again here. What if he actually had an evil secret? But he's embarrassed to tell it. Or maybe on the other hand, he's actually sad that he's got a secret. But when someone finds out, he's incredibly angry. What do you think of this technique? Let me know if it's made it easier for you to draw people. So let's bring this learning together. The structure, the elements, we just need the information. So we're going to walk through a practice meeting. And our practice meeting, we've had an email invite. It says that this is a 1-hour vision workshop and it's called Future Vision. So already we can use this knowledge of timings to split the page into a guideline. So I'm going to use this blue colour to split my page into 4. So I know here that I've got 4 sections of 15 minutes. And personally, I want to pop the title right in the middle. So we know it's called the Future Vision. I'm just going to really simply write this in here. Future Vision. If you're following along, feel free to make this a little bit more fancy. But personally, I'm actually going to draw a banner around it. So follow along for the simplest banner you'll be taught how to draw. We have a rectangle around our words. Under each bottom corner, we triangle it off. So 2 simple triangles. Coming out from the bottom of each, we go out either side. And we do exactly the same motion from the middle of the banner. Now, to join these 2 together, we simply use a V shape, and you've got your simple banner. So at the start of the practice meeting, it's announced that there are in fact 4 actions to cover. Even better, we've got those 4 sections set up as a guideline already. So our practice actions are current values, vision for the future, the mission statement, and any actions to take away. And as a quick plan, I'm going to use icons for each section so I know where my information is going during the meeting. So I'm going to use my icon library, and in this top left corner, I'm going to use a shield for values. And I think I like putting a heart in the middle so it feels a bit more human. Here we have values. On the top right, we've got vision. So I'm going to be thinking vision, let's look into the future with this quick and simple eye that I like to add eyelashes to. On the bottom left here, we've got mission. So I'm going to use my trusty mountain that I showed you earlier. Let's add a bit of snow in for fancy. There we go. This is our mission. And over here, we've got actions. So I'm just going to use a simple tick box because I like to know when my actions have been done. Let's draw that in there. By doing it this way, we can anchor each section and organise the information really easily. And maybe at this stage, we can also decide by ourselves to use thought bubbles for ideas, arrows for information, and faces for how we feel about those things. So I'm going to think, if someone says something really powerful about their company values, let's put their thought here in a bubble. Maybe someone says something beautiful for the vision. They captured that really well. Let's put that speech bubble in here. Maybe a mission makes you feel really excited. Let's pop that in there. Really ready to get going with that mission. And actions, let's arrow them so we know exactly what each one is at the side there. So by using titles, containers, connectors, icons, and people within a structure, we can easily organise our sketch notes in the meeting. So at this point, I've shared all of my hints and tips for anyone beginning their journey creating sketch notes. So to put this all into practice, I have a challenge for you, one that shows you another way of using these skills. So my challenge to you is to visualise your morning routine in sketchnote form. Remember to use a title, containers for each step, connectors to show the journey, icons for maybe your alarm or your cup of coffee, and include those emotions and stages too. I like to use these if I'm nervous about something, so I think by addressing things on paper rather than in your head, it's much more effective to overcome. For those brave ones on the workshop who want to share their sketchnote routine, I would love to see it. You can share it on Instagram or Twitter and use the hashtag Scribble Inc Workshop. On LinkedIn, tag me, Hannah Williams, and I'll be giving feedback and shout outs to those that do. I'm so excited for those who are ready to keep working on their notes. And if you're thinking this is great, but I wouldn't want to show my dogs my drawing, I can absolutely help. So if you're interested in implementing sketchnotes in your business, I run a bespoke sketchnote workshop that can be tailored to your line of work. If you have an event or meeting that would benefit from being professionally scribed, I can also help. You can get in touch via my email or Calendly link in the offers. Let me see how I can help breathe life into your communication and make your complex information easy to understand. Thank you again for joining this sketchnote workshop with me, Hannah from Scribble Inc. I cannot wait to see your drawings. Stay safe, and I hope you have a great day.